Bonjour de Paris. There's a new person in town. Well, I'm not really new to Paris. Oh, when I typed that, autocorrect just made Paris into pastries. And well, I'm not really new to those either. So, hey. Um, this is my sixth time in Paris, and it's the first foreign city I actually ever visited. Story time. My parents promised when I started high school that if I graduated with a 3.78, they'd send me to Hawaii. Well, let's just say I never refuse a challenge, right? Since I suspect my mom had planned to go with me, and since at that point, my senior year, she was not well, she did pass away a little while after that. They asked if I would rather go on my international club's trip to France and the UK. And yes, like that's a question. And so that's how Paris became my favorite city, and Notre Dame became my favorite cathedral. And we went to see the restoration the other day, and it's incredible. You know, we're used to seeing it a lot dirtier with centuries of candle, soot and stuff, and this is like a different place, but it's incredible. My first few days in France were rather eventful. Ah, I flew to Bordeaux, and then I hopped a train to the small village where I was supposed to take a pastry intensive, except, well, remember that giant blackout that happened on my first day in Spain here? Well, natural disasters apparently like me. And there was a giant storm system between Bordeaux and Toulouse, which is, you got it, precisely where I needed to go. And the train tracks were wrecked. So I landed in another small town where I had no way of knowing how to get to my class. I had no internet and no one spoke English. And okay, there are some challenges I would really rather not face in my life. And this was one of them. So I found a poke bowl restaurant and I had lunch and I begged the Wi Fi code off the guy, telling him I was completely lost. And I booked a small room whose chief strength was that it was 400 feet away. And I trundled my suitcase down there with a hope and a prayer that I'd figure something out. Some days in the sabbatical are fun and energizing, and I feel like I'm living my best life and conquering things I never thought I could do. And then there are days like that. Days like that day. And here's what I wrote down on that day. I wrote, "Today, I'm tired and stupid and unfriendly. I don't know any French anymore at all. I'm forgetting all the Spanish that I just learned. It's gone. It's out of my head, except when I have to speak French to someone in this tiny town, and then it all comes pouring out of my mouth. And I'm lost. Today, I am lost. I am not where I am supposed to be right now, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. Today is very hard." And it's easy to sometimes figure out, hey, what am I learning on the good days? But what about on the stupid days? What about my tired days? What about our leave me alone, but I desperately need help days? And I asked myself, am I letting God take care of me in this situation? Because I don't think I was. Sitting there in Marmande, France, Google it on a map. You will see it's not near anything. Was I letting God take care of me in that situation? I'm not sure. And the more I pondered it, the more I thought, I'm not sure that I have ever really done that. Maybe that's because trust was not something I learned very early as a child. When you grow up watching your siblings threaten one another with cast iron frying pans and your parent say abusive things to your siblings, you know, your faith in a benevolent force watching over you takes a few blows. And when you never know if the next person who's going to walk into the room is your very kind brother or your child predator brother in law, trust is a liability. It's not a virtue. So, no, I've never been really good at the whole let go and let God stuff, although God has taken care of me and did. But you know what? Maybe I think that's okay. I do believe God understands in those situations. And I do believe that God wants me to trust, not because God has some big autocratic plan that makes him feel better because he's the boss. I think God wants it for me to make my life sweeter and better. But also, I think God gets it. I know this partly because I know Jesus was tired often. I know he was tired of body and soul and heart. Did he ever feel stupid? Well, that part's kind of hard to imagine, but did he ever feel lost? Probably. He wept, after all, in the face of grief and death, and he wept and he felt lost at the deep pain of friends whom he could help then in the moment restore the life of their brother, but he would die again, wouldn't he? And then what? And Jesus knew that, and he wept, and I think sometimes felt a little lost. And we try too hard as Christians to find the moral of the story. In my early years as a Christian writer, that is all publishers wanted, was tie a little neat bow at the end, give us the moral, and wrap everything up and make it sweet and cute and happy. Um, as if life, with all of its stupidness and its tiredness and its lostness, was that easily set into a one sentence tacked on the end of a story. It's not. Things don't always happen for a reason. We're not always supposed to learn something from every bad thing that happens to us. Life is both too long and too short for all those assumptions about our pain and the pain of other people, to be honest. Some days, the only thing I think we're supposed to get is a, yeah, I got that hug from God. I know I've felt that. I've got you. Even when you don't feel the safety net, you can feel the hug. That class, the pastry intensive, by the way, which I did get to, by the way, was worth all the stress and the frustration. It was amazing. The instructor brought us to a pastry shop, two pastry shops, to teach us how to find good pastry that tastes good and what to expect, as opposed to pastry that looks good, but maybe doesn't taste the way it's supposed to. And that was a good lesson to learn. And then we baked. We baked for 2 days. They do call it an intensive, by the way, and we ate. She earned the right to teach us baking and cooking because that food she made was incredible. Sadly, I got very few photos of my own work, but it really, I promise you, did look good. She made things that had daunted me, that scared me, like pastry cases, tart shells, seem almost easy. I said almost. We made Paris Brest. Yes, I made that. I did. Poached pear almond tart, fresh strawberry and creme anglaise tart. And have you ever watched Great British Baking Show and seen an entremet, those really fancy things they say? I'd never seen one before. And now I've made one with this beautiful tart base and raspberry jelly and gelée, whatever. Vanilla mousse and a white chocolate mirror glaze. And I didn't get to decorate mine because I had to leave early to catch a train to Paris. And excuse me. And it melted in the taxi on the way to the train. But I assure you, the puddle was delicious. And I very much dislike white chocolate, and I'm still telling you that. So it was worth it. It was worth the hassle. If you have any secrets, any stories on how to do this whole trusting God thing, let me know. Tell your stories because we need to hear them. But meanwhile, I am praying a God hug for you, wherever you are, whatever you need. Au revoir.